there's certain words that we use in this chamber and that my good friend, Senator Engelbretson, just used, that I think that we should be very careful. I believe that he means well, but often we do talk from our own perspective and we don't stop to think about the perspective of another. And if we are supposed to really be united and as one, I believe that this saying is correct. It says that that one should seek to understand, then to be understood. Too often we have people who say, oh, it's a Minneapolis problem. I don't have that problem up in my area. But the only people that they've talked to have been people who look like them. They may have never talked to a person of color who might live down the block. I remember, even though I wasn't old enough, I look at old footage. I look at things from 1963 and prior to 1963, when there were peaceful marches done by Martin Luther King Jr. and others. And today we quote Martin Luther King all the time. But we never stopped to think about that in 1963, even when children were marching because of injustices, that dogs were sicked on them and that police were beating them upside their head. And water hoses were sprayed on them. And like the situation we are faced today, it pricked the consciousness of America because we got a chance to see in real time what was truly happening because other people were denying the reality of the people who lived there in the South. The problem is that mentality doesn't just stay in the South. It doesn't just stay in metropolitan areas because a large percentage of the people who are police officers, even on the Minneapolis Police Department force, don't live in Minneapolis. They live out where my good friend Senator Engelbretson lives and other people live. But they don't live in the city of Minneapolis because, as my understanding, is less than 7% that lives even around the city of Minneapolis. Where they learn it from? This is not the point blame because we do at all times want every individual to go forward. And it's also interesting to me how Mr. President, Senator Engelbretson says, oh, words matter. But then when we look up the training, it says warrior training. Senator Marty outlines that there's a website. There's a place to go. That's how it's being marketed. But he says, oh, it shouldn't be named that, but it is. And there's a negative connotation that goes with that. And that negative connotation and mentality and that culture affects people who looks different from the individuals who make up our police forces. And so I would just hope that even as we think about Senator Limmer is a wonderful person. But I think, Mr. President, that the proposals that have been put forward haven't really been thoughtful enough in order to consider people like me. I don't recall getting a call asking me my thoughts or my opinions about the different perspectives. I think I'm a reasonable person. I remember saying to one of my close colleagues today that it's equivalent for all men to come together and say what they think should happen for women, and that we should decide what should happen with a woman's body. I don't think that's right. I don't think men should do that. I think women are capable and qualified to speak for themselves. And if we're going to even remotely think about participating in a conversation, we should defer and listen to a woman. And in this instance, I believe it's important for folks to defer and listen to other people of color. We may agree, we may not agree, but that's a part of having rich discussion so there can be an exchange of ideas. and the opportunity to learn from each other, because perhaps I would learn something from something they share with me, because I'm always open to that. So, Mr. President, I just hope that as we continue this debate, that we allow for it to be real debate, because we didn't get a chance to debate these issues, but these have been bills that have been introduced and has been on the roster, and that there's been hearing requests made, and unfortunately we are here. But we can do something still that would be meaningful, that would be substantive, and that would be thoughtful and beneficial to all of us as Minnesotans. Because when we all do better, we all do better.